Since my last episode, Las Vegas encountered an earthquake. We were invaded by grasshoppers. And the Vegas Golden Knights cut a deal with the devil, sending Nikita Gusev. The Goose is officially loose and flying eastbound to the Eastern Conference. Yeah, so I'd say a lot's gone on. And why don't we just dive right into the episode? Folks, welcome to episode 42 of...
Welcome to Knights Nation, an unofficial podcast discussing all things Vegas Golden Knights. A show designed for the fans, by a fan. Produced locally in Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the Fortress. Weekly episodes include segments Numbers Don't Lie, VGK Rewind, and What the Puck. And now, here's your host, the VGK Bug-Eye Guy.
What's going on, Vegas Golden Knights fans? That's right, the VGK Bug-Eye Guy is back.
And how y'all been? You guys enjoying your summer? Kiddos are getting ready to go back to school. Hopefully you guys got some away time, enjoyed some vacation, some family time. Look, I get it. This time of year, it's August 1st as I'm recording this podcast. It's hot as hell outside. There's nothing on TV. Sure, I love America's Got Talent. That's a great show, but it's only on like 2 nights a week. Them Deadliest Catch fellers and them Alaska Crab guys, I enjoy that as well. But honestly, as far as sports is concerned, no Olympics this year. Women's World Cup just got done. Congratulations to Team Merica. That was awesome. But that's over. No hockey. Football's just now starting, but it's all the drama of training camp. It's not real football yet. But there's nothing to watch on TV, right? And I know some of you guys are thinking right now, Bug-Eye Guy, you're forgetting about America's pastime. Good old stick and ball baseball. Okay, if you're a fan of the Bug-Eye Guy and you've listened to my past episodes, you'll know I am not really a fan of baseball. Way too many games, and it's kind of boring. I mean, 3 hours for a dude playing catch with another dude, and some dude walks up with the stick and tries to whack the ball. I get it. If it was a 16-game season or even an 80-game season, it'd probably be a little bit better, but it's not. It's too many games. You play the same team like 3 days in a row. I don't want to see that. Anyways, summer's been a little rough. The Bug-Eye Guy, I've wanted to do podcasts. Look, episode 41, my last episode, I recorded it twice, and I held off because I had a feeling Colin Miller was going to get traded. There was all this talk about Gusev wanting his contract, and we had to get rid of people, and everyone was saying Miller was one of them. I was excited that it was him leaving town, but so I did the podcast for the second time. I'm like, forget it. I'm doing it. And then I checked right before I was done, and sure enough, he had got traded, so thank God I didn't have to record that podcast. But there's been news. July 1st happened since my last podcast, and we're going to talk about it later in this episode, but a lot of things happen around the NHL on July 1st, including names like Ryan Carpenter signing with the Chicago Blackhawks. Or I know this is a fan favorite, and I know some of you guys are probably really upset about this, but the NHL is a business. Teams have a salary cap. They only have X amount of money. And unfortunately, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare went to a Western Conference rival. I know they're in the Central, but still, the Colorado Avalanche, that's a good fit for him. That's a good fit for that team. That team's going to be good. They're going to be tough next year. They've made a lot of good key roster moves. On top of it, they were a playoff team, and they were pretty good. Well, let me dive into my show notes here because during the regular season, it's so much easier to come up with a podcast. My buddy Louie from VGK Coverage, he's been doing videos throughout the summer. Pretty much anytime something breaks, he'll shoot a quick couple-minute video, talk about it, which is perfect. That's really all you need. But as a podcaster, I'm not doing a 2.5-minute podcast. So I have to wait, gather up some news, and then record an episode like I'm doing right now. During the season, it's completely different. My podcast schedule is based solely off of how many games the Vegas Golden Knights have that week. If it's like a 4-game week, it's going to be kind of tough for me because of schedule. But like a normal 3-game week, I gather my audio throughout the week, write my show notes down, make sure I remember the games because, watching every game is they can kind of all get jumbled up in your head. So you really got to kind of take some notes. And then I sit down on Sundays and I bang out an episode. It's not that terribly tough. I've got a system. I've got a routine. I finally worked out all the bugs on the audio stuff, changed some equipment, and it is what it is. So during the summertime, I've been struggling a little bit. So on my iPhone, on the notes, whenever I think of something, I just go to my notes. I go, oh, this will be good for the podcast. And I write it down, and then I move on. Kind of the same thing when I'm on social media. Now, my last episode, I talked about social media, how I had taken a break right after the whole debacle of the shark stuff. I took like a month off from social media. And if you follow me, especially on Facebook, you've probably noticed I'm not really out there. I don't really post much. Fuck, I'm going to have to edit this. I apologize, man. Oh, man. Ugh. That's pretty rude. That sucks. I'm going to have to now remember this part of the podcast and go and edit it. Or maybe I'll just leave it. And if so, yeah, I'm kind of a, rude ass burping in the microphone, but hey, it is what it is. Anyways, getting back to what I was talking about. During the regular season, it's very easy for me to do a podcast because I've got a ton of content. In fact, the hard part is trying to get the podcast shorter and trying to cut out audio that I really think should be in there, but just for the time purposes, that's the hard part. Summertime, not so much. So, talking about notes, let's see what I got on here. Had to digest yesterday's trade and gather thoughts about Gusev not being a Vegas Golden Knight. Okay, we might as well dive right into that trade right now. The New Jersey Devils on the 29th of July of 2019 officially acquired Nikita Gusev from the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for a 2020 third-round pick and a 2021 second-round pick. Now, on the 23rd of July, there was news that the Vegas Golden Knights acquired Garrett Sparks, backup goalie. He won the AHL championship 2 years ago for the Toronto Marlies, won the backup role last year for the Toronto Maple Leafs, struggled a little bit, but still got in like 20 games. Well, the Vegas Golden Knights traded David Clarkson's $5.25 million contract along with a fourth-round pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for Garrett Sparks. Now, a lot of people instantly thought, oh, the Vegas Golden Knights are just dumping that Clarkson contract. Well, that is true, but that Clarkson contract was kind of already slated to go to LTIR. That's long-term injury reserved. Now, there's stipulations between LTIR and how many people you have on it and how much money. In fact, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Vegas Golden Knights did the Toronto Maple Leafs a favor by trading them Clarkson's dead money. Sure, they're going to have to actually write the check to Mr. Clarkson. But the Toronto Maple Leafs are the original people that signed Mr. Clarkson to that ridiculous $5.25 million contract. So it was kind of like Toronto taking their own thing. And they now have two people to put on LTIR, so they're able to claim the maximum amount through the rules. So Vegas got a backup goalie. I know a lot of you guys are going, but we have Subban. Well, a couple weeks ago before Subban re-signed, people were not wanting Subban. So I'm a Dansk fan. I think Oscar Dansk played really good last year for AHL Chicago Wolves. I was hoping he was going to get a shot to compete with Subban this year for the backup job, but now I'm pretty sure it's going to be Sparks and Subban battling it out for the backup role. But either way, Vegas Golden Knights did that trade. Well, a lot of fans were thinking that whole Clarkson dump was to help re-sign Nikita Gusev. Now, Nikita Gusev was asking for, rumors was like $4 million, and the Vegas Golden Knights were offering 2 years for $4 million, which was $2 million. So they were like $2 million a year off. In order for Vegas to be able to clear the cap room required to sign Nikita Gusev, even to that $3 million deal, was going to require the Vegas Golden Knights to move somebody like Nick Holden or Ryan Reeves, or a name that was thrown out a lot was actually Cody Eakin. Now, the reason Cody Eakin's thrown out there, for one, he has a cap hit this year of $3.85 million. Another big thing is Cody Eakin next year is an unrestricted free agent. So is Ryan Reeves, and Ryan Reeves is $2.775 million a year, which I know a lot of people get really mad that Reeves makes that kind of money because he's a fourth liner and he plays like 10 to 12 minutes a night. If I have to still explain to you Vegas Golden Knights fans that are listening to this podcast why we have Ryan Reeves, you're a damn idiot. He's there for a reason. He's an enforcer. He's there for a reason. He's there to protect the Wild Bills, the Mark Stones, the Max Pacioretty's, the Paul Stasnys, the Riley Smiths, the Jonathan Marshall, the Alex Tucks, the Thomas Nosek. You remember that bullshit hit last playoffs? Sharks? Thornton? Dirty-ass hit, got him a suspension. You guys remember that? You want to know why I'm bringing that up today on August 1st? You want to know why? Because a stupid NHL network has been playing the Vegas Golden Knights versus San Jose Sharks round 1 today on TV. Every freaking game. All of them. And, of course, what game do you think I watched before I came here and did this podcast? Yep, Game 7. First time I've watched Game 7 since Game 7 was actually played. First time I watched the penalty and watched the debacle after the penalty was today. Second time ever. Literally an hour ago. Am I over it? Yes, you're damn right I'm over it. I don't sound like I'm over it, though, do I? No. I'm over it, for real. I'm still upset, but there's nothing I can do about it, right? I mean, yes. All right, so I watched that. What else we got going on? All right, so getting back to Gusev, sorry. Rambling a little bit. It's summertime. You're just going to have to deal with it. I apologize. I was so excited for Gusev. You know, at the expansion draft when we got his rights, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, no big deal. And then I got to watch him in the Olympics, and I was like, dude, this dude's money. And then when Shipashev, or Shitashev as I like to call him, you guys remember Vadim Shipashev? Yeah, he was a Russian guy, came over here, thought he was going to be the shit, and didn't really cut it. They wanted him to go to the AHL just to get a little ice time on the smaller ice, but he didn't want to do it, and he ended up retiring for the NHL and going back to Russia. Gusev, in my opinion, is probably not a Shipashev. I know they both produced high in the KHL, Continental Hockey League, but Gusev is best friends with Nikita Kucherov from the Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, the MVP of the league. You know, that badass dude down there in Tampa. They're buddies. They played together in the World Cup this summer and tore it up. They were number 2 and number 3, respectively, out of the whole tournament in scoring. So I was excited for Gusev. Sure, he's a little small in size, but, dude, his hockey IQ, his stick skills, his speed, dude, I was excited. I was excited because I thought I was going to get to see Wild Bill, Riley Smith and Marchie, line 1, A, Paul Stasny, Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone, line 1, B, and I was hoping Alex Tuck on one side, Nikita Gusev on the other side. And who's the center? Cody Glass. Ooh, I was excited. I was looking forward to the potential of that young line. And young, I know Gusev's 27, but I was looking forward to that. Now it's going to be, I don't know who's going to be on the third line. I know it's going to be Alex Tuck, probably Cody Eakin and Brandon Peary. We did re-sign Brandon Peary 2 years, $775,000 a year. 28 years old. Looks like he had a fit with the Vegas Golden Knights. But thinking I was going to have Gusev and Glass and Tuck, and now I'm getting Brandon Peary, Cody Eakin, and Tuck. Here's the deal, folks. The numbers don't lie. The stats do not lie. Last year, the third line for the Vegas Golden Knights was our biggest problem. It was a revolving door. We had a buttload of people play on that line. Remember, Thomas Hika was down for a little bit. He played on that line. Remember, Peary? Oh, call Peary up every time he scores a goal, but he has to clear waivers. You remember all that whole debacle from last year? Yeah, that was huge. Everybody loved Peary, but the problem with Peary is he don't play no damn defense. And I love Cody Eakin. Cody Eakin had a breakout year last year. The problem with Cody Eakin, though, is Cody Eakin's good when he plays with other good people. It's kind of like Alex Tuck. You move Alex Tuck up to the second or first line, and he produces more. The Vegas Golden Knights have to figure out what they're going to do with that third line. If it's going to be Tuck, Eakin, and Peary, then work with them. Get them together early. Let them build some camaraderie and some chemistry, and hopefully that line can compete. As far as the fourth line's concerned, Ryan Reeves, William Carrier, Thomas Nosek, or Eakin down there on the fourth line, and then have Glass as your third line centerman. This is why I'm kind of confused also how we shipped out Eric Halla. Now, I know Eric Halla is coming off that huge, gruesome knee injury, But I figured we were shipping Hall out because we were going to use that slot for Gusev, and now there's no Gusev and there's no Hall. All of a sudden, the Vegas Golden Knights are in a little bit of a predicament when it comes to the actual roster. I'm looking at Cap Friendly right now, and if you're not a fan of Cap Friendly, you're a knucklehead, because if you're a hockey fan and you want to know the numbers, they've got everything here all on one site. All you got to do is click a couple buttons. It's capfriendly.com and /Vegas teams /Golden Knights, and you're going to get right to where you need to be. But looking at it right now, we've got Zykov under contract. We only pay him $675,000. He is a restricted free agent next year, as well as William Carrier at $725 restricted next year. I love William Carrier. You guys know I love William Carrier. I love the way he plays. The dude needs to stay healthy, though. Because the way he plays, he's prone to injuries. He's been injured both seasons for the Vegas Golden Knights. Going into his third year, he's only 24 years old. He's a lefty. He needs to freaking, I love him. We'll leave it at that. But moving down here to our non-roster forwards. So I've already mentioned Cody Glass. I think he makes the team this year. If not, he will be up as soon as somebody gets injured. As far as the other names that are under contract with the Vegas Golden Knights, everyone remembers Reed Duke, the first ever signee for the Vegas Golden Knights. Nope, he ain't making the team. Nicholas Roy could make the team. This is a name that, so we got him in exchange for the Eric Holla trade from the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, he played mostly in the minors last year, but let's just look at his stats real quick. For the AHL, so in the playoffs, his team, the Charlotte Checkers, won the AHL this year against our Chicago Wolves. They're the champions, and Nicholas Roy in the playoffs had 6 goals. Let's see here. He played, He played 19 playoff games. He had 6 goals and 9 assists for 15 points. During the regular season, he had 17 goals and 19 assists for 36 points. Now, he did have 28 penalty minutes, which is good. Sometimes penalty minutes are okay. And he played 6 games this year for the Carolina Hurricanes. No points. So he's had a total of 7 NHL games, all with the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe he comes out of camp. Maybe he surprises some people and makes the roster. That's a possibility. Gage Quinney. Do you guys know who Gage Quinney is? Gage Quinney is a Vegas native, born and raised in Las Vegas. In fact, he used to play for the under-16 Las Vegas Storm way back in the 2010-2011 season. He played for the Phoenix Junior Coyotes, obviously because that's the closest team because we didn't have a Vegas team. And he played for the Chicago Wolves for the last 2 years. Well, just the last year. I apologize. He played 68 games last year for the AHL Chicago Wolves, and he had 19 goals, 24 assists, 43 points. During the playoffs, he played 18 games and had 4 goals and 5 assists for 9 points. Maybe he makes the roster. Could you imagine a born and raised Las Vegas kid growing up, going through the minors, and playing in the NHL in his hometown? I know a lot of people wanted Jason Zucker. Jason Zucker's another hometown kid, but he's a proven NHL veteran now up there in Minnesota. And maybe Gage Quinney makes the team. That's an option. Who else we got on here? Patrick Brown. Patrick Brown was picked up this offseason as well, and he's a right winger and a center with a respectable $700,000 cap. Maybe he makes the team. Let's look at his stats real quick. He's another one. Patrick Brown. Gotta love you, dude. You played for the Charlotte Checkers as well, and you had 19 goals, 16 assists during the regular season, and 5 goals and 5 assists in 11 playoff games. That's not too bad. Maybe he makes the team also. You guys are going, Brown, who's that? Roy, who's that? Gage Quinney? Where are all these names coming from? They're coming from the Vegas Golden Knights. Yes, fans, there are players on the roster. There are players that are signed to the team that, yes, they're not on the NHL roster, but we got minors. Hello. All right, that's pretty much it. Let's move real quickly to goaltenders, and then we'll talk to defense. So the goaltenders, we mentioned earlier, obviously we got Flower, Power, and Subban on the main roster as of now. We got Garrett Sparks, Dylan Ferguson, and Oscar Dansk all in the under contract. Believe it or not, Oscar Dansk makes $675,000, and Dylan Ferguson makes $733,000. That's crazy. We'll see what happens there. I talked about it briefly earlier. Obviously, Flower Power's number one. Flower Power is number one. And if it's Subs or Sparks or Dansk or Fergie, who cares? I don't care. Back up. That's fine. All right, let's move back up here to the defense. You know I love the defense. And I was way, way, way wrong about one move that the Vegas Golden Knights did. Pretty much for the second half of last season and the offseason so far, I, like most people, thought that Derek Engelland was going to retire from the NHL. Hell, he's 37 years old. He's only a couple of years younger than me. And I figured they'd give him some sort of front office job or be a scout or be a coach or something. No, they ended up re-signing him for $700,000 with a bonus potential to be up to like $1.5 million, depending on how many games he plays and his stats. And I'm okay with Derek Engelland coming back. I mean, he's a proven veteran. He's a leader for this team. He is Mr. Las Vegas. I'm good with it. My only concern with him coming back is, one, I thought salary cap was going to be an issue, which it is. And I didn't want him coming back holding back one of the younger guys. And when I'm talking about the younger guys, there's a couple names in particular. You guys have probably heard these names. If you haven't, again, you're not. You need to get more up to speed on your Golden Knights. Zach Whitecloud. Nick Hague. Remember this name, Nick Hague. Jake Bischoff. Dylan Coughlin, Jimmy Schultz. All those names. Now, Schultz, technically, as of recording right now, is not under contract. But we have like $1 million in cap room, and he's pretty much the only person we have left to sign. And now that Nikita Gusev is the Goose is loose and flown back east, we don't have to worry about moving money. Therefore, that $1 million or some of that money is going to go to Jimmy Schultz, and Jimmy Schultz will be under contract with the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, that being said, Jimmy Schultz could make the team this year. Nick Hague could definitely make the team this year. Who doesn't play? Well, we know, barring another bullshit suspension, which was bullshit, Nate Schmidt starting, Shea Theodore starting, my boy Nabber starting, John frickin' Merrill starting, and for you Merrill haters, let me tell you something. Since the Bug-Eye guy last Christmas, New Year's, I said, my New Year's resolution, I'm going to flip the script. I'm Team fucking Merrill 2019. It's happening. I'm jumping on the fucking bandwagon. Team frickin' Merrill. And you know what? Merrill exploded. He had a phenomenal second half of the season. He played great. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but Merrill played good. Good enough to be in the starting four for the Vegas Golden Knights next year. The other two names that are technically slated on the main roster would be Nick Holden and Derek Engelland. Holden makes $2.2 million. Merrill makes 1.3. Engelland's making 700,000. Nick Holden might not be a Vegas Golden Knight. He might be a trade deadline guy. Some team might be looking for him. If Hague's playing good and Schultz playing good and Whitecloud or Bischoff or any of those other names that I mentioned play good, Holden's expendable. That $2.2 million contract's expendable. And he's a UFA at the end of the year. Team could take that on if they've got cap room. They could take $2.2 million on. Frees up more room for Vegas. I don't know. The defense is going to be interesting. I'm super excited. I'm ready. I'm totally ready for the season. In particular, I'm ready to go back to the Fortress because the Fortress is nice and cold. Sure, the beer prices are expensive and the food selection's kind of questionable and everything's overpriced. But it is on the Strip, on the Las Vegas Strip. I mean, it's right there. But it's air conditioned. It's nice. It's cold. And another reason why I want to go is I miss my family. I miss my hockey family. I miss Section 216. And, of course, you guys know I miss Section 217. Yes, I miss Dennis the Usher. I miss being there watching our Vegas Golden Knights beat the crap out of other teams. I love it. And I'm excited, and I can't wait for the season to start. We've got a few more months, but, hey, it is what it is. Speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights, I went with the wife a couple weeks ago to the Battle-worn. Look, it was an event by the Vegas Golden Knights for season ticket holders where season ticket holders had the ability to purchase game-worn gear. I know some of you guys listening go, I wish I had season tickets. You can go buy gear. They don't offer that to us regular fans. Look, okay, we're not going to have that conversation, not on my podcast. I've given tickets away. I let people come with me for free. I'm not one of those asshole season ticket guys that are just trying to sell their tickets. Speaking of those guys, if you're a fan of the Bug-Eye Guy, the Bug-Eye Guy podcast, which was prior to this Knights Nation podcast, go back to an old episode. Go back to an episode shortly after we lost the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 5 Stanley Cup Finals when we lost. I did a podcast shortly after that. Ed. There's a guy named Ed that used to sit in the row right in front of me. He used to sit literally the 2 seats right in front of me the inaugural season. And we got into it. That's Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Security got involved. He's a little bitch. But last year, year 2, I seen Ed at 1 game. Now, I only missed 5 games all year. 5 games I didn't go to. Ed was at 1 game all year long. His tickets were available for sale on flash sheets every single game. Guess who didn't get their season tickets renewed next year? Yep, my buddy John, who initially bought Ed's tickets, and he paid for them, and then Ed paid him back. Well, Ed wanted to sell playoff tickets year 1, and everyone else was like, dude, we took the Knights vow. We ain't doing that shit. So year 2, John worked out a deal with Ed. They paid the money and transferred those 2 tickets directly to Ed. And then Ed turned around and sold every single game this year. And then Ed got his tickets taken away. So fuck you, Ed. I'm glad I don't ever have to see you at the Fortress again. I'm glad I can go to Section 217 and cheer for my Vegas Golden Knights in peace and not have to worry about a fan right in front of me that's upset with me cheering for the Golden Knights, especially when the Nitron says, make noise, you fucking asshole, Ed. You, Ed, honestly, you know what you are, dude? You are an
idiot.
You're what?
You're an idiot.
Yes, Ed's an idiot. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the Fortress, looking forward to seeing my family there. I'm looking forward to watching games. I'm looking forward to this year. Last year ended garbage. That San Jose Game 7 that I freaking watched a couple hours, like an hour and a half ago, garbage. And I know. I've had to listen to the stupid-ass pundits all summer. All summer long, the pundits just, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's the greatest series. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to change the rules. Blah, blah, blah. Let's suck off the San Jose Sharks some more. Ha! And the fact that Joe Pavelski, their captain, the guy that got injured from a vicious cross-check, a vicious hit by Cody Eakin that resulted in a 5-minute power play. Yeah, I know. I'm still... Okay. Take a deep breath. Relax. Don't ever record a podcast right after watching something that's just going to piss you off. All right. I'm not even going to talk about that no more. Other than the fact that their captain Pavelski now plays for the Dallas Stars. Yep. He decided to move on. Maybe for a reason. I don't know, because the San Jose Sharks suck. All right, looking at my show notes because I'm rambling, and I apologize, but you get a ramble during the summer podcast. I'm not going to do what's on tap and random news from around the league, and I'm not going to do all my little segments that I do normally because there's none of that shit to talk about. All we're relying on right now as you're driving in your car or sitting at your house chilling, listening to this podcast, all we're relying on right now, I'm talking like right now as I'm recording, we're relying on 2 things. CapFriendly.com sitting right in front of me and my show notes, baby. So it is what it is. What I got here, July 1st free agency. I want to go over those, but I don't want to go over those just yet. Vegas roster moves, Belly gone, Engelland back, Carpy gone. Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about the projected lineup. We talked about the fact that Brandon Peary came back. We talked about Clarkson getting traded and our goalie depth. Hell, we talked about, well, it says salary cap update. I'm going to update you on the Vegas Golden Knights salary cap right now. Our projected cap space as of a little past 4 in the afternoon on the 1st of August, 2019, the Vegas Golden Knights have just over $1 million in cap space. Yep. Mark Stone next year, $9.5 million against the cap. Pacioretty, $7 million against the cap. Stasny, $6.5 million against the cap. Carlson, $5.9 million against the cap. And Wild Bill re-signing at $5.9 million is a freaking steal. And the fact that we got him signed through the 25-26 season's even better. He's 26, the peak of his career. He took a team-friendly deal. I mean, look at his line mates. Smith, $5 million. Marchie, $5 million. Okay, he's the center. He gets a little bit more. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights, sure, we have cap problems. And I know a lot of pundits don't understand the fact that, well, I don't understand how the Vegas Golden Knights, they're only in year 3 of their inaugural season, and they are already a cap team. Well, let me remind people once again, even though I just did it, The Vegas Golden Knights have Mark Stone on their team. They have Max Pacioretty, the former Montreal Canadian captain, on their team. They have Paul Stastny. They have young gun Alex Tuck. They got Ryan Reeves. They got Nate Schmidt. They got Marc-Andre Fleury. Fleury's $7 million a year, folks. I mean, that's a lot of money, especially considering your backup, Subs, $850,000. Kind of a discrepancy in the goalies, huh? But all those other goalies aren't Marc-Andre Fleury now, are they? So as far as cap, yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights are, they're not cash strapped. They're cap strapped. They're up against the cap. And sure, that sounds like a bad thing, but look, I was on the, let's see here, CBS app or Score app or something, and they were talking about the chances of, teams making the Stanley Cup or winning a cup in the next 3 years. The Vegas Golden Knights, in year 3 of their existence, have a 20% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. A third-year team has a 20% chance to win the cup. Cornerstone players were 3 out of 4 stars. Ascending talent, 3 out of 4 stars. Coaching and management were 4 out of 4 stars. The only thing they gigged us on was cap flexibility. We're 1 star. Yes, we're cap-strapped a little bit. But look at who we have. It's not like we have a bunch of scrubs. It's not like we have a bunch of bad contracts. If I had to look at it right now, which I am, what's a bad contract? Max Pacioretty at $7 million for the next 4 years? I don't know. Max Pacioretty was hurt a bunch last year. We didn't get to see the Stone Patches Stastny line really gel till right towards the end. Stastny for the next 2 years at $6.5 million, is that a lot? I don't know. For his leadership and the fact that he dominates in the faceoff circle, I don't know. I think that's not unreasonable. And as I go down the roster, Alex Tuck, $4.75 million for the next 6 years. 6 years. If Tuck becomes the player we all think he's going to become, he's only 23, folks. That's going to be a steal of a contract. And then we've got some unrestricted guys. Next year, Eakin, 3.8, that money's gone. Reeves, 2.7, that money's gone. Nosek, $1 million, that money's gone. So there's still going to be room, and hopefully the cap continues to go up. Another thing you guys got to realize, the Vegas Golden Knights, starting year 3, it's why I mentioned Cody Glass, Nick Hague, some of these inaugural season draft picks. They've now gone through the minors a couple years, gotten their feet wet. It's going to be time this year moving forward where we're going to see some veterans move on, and we're going to replace them with young drafted guys. There's 2 reasons for that. One, the veterans want more money and the young drafted guys are cheaper. And 2, that's how you build a team. It's a farm system. You draft kids hoping they pan out, hopefully they eventually make your team and make your team better. So, yes, we're cash cap. I keep getting that messed up. Yes, we are cap strapped. But that's not going to be the case every year. And moving forward, as the salary cap for the league goes up, these contracts stay the same. So the Vegas Golden Knights could potentially be in a really good position come, say, the 2021-2022 season maybe. It could happen. I'm excited. All right. Focus, Bug-Eye Guy. Get back to your show notes. Young guys get shots. Glass, Roy, Hague, Schultz. Yep, covered that. Battleborg gear sale. Yep, I was right in the middle of talking about that, and I went off on a tangent, didn't I? Let's get back to the battle-worn gear sale. Showed up. I was the second showing of the day, so there was, I think, like 5 or 6 of them. You showed up. You had to sign in. You go wait by one of the practice rinks. They have you sit in the bleachers, and you just kind of corral there, and then when they're ready to go, when it's your turn to go in there, they walk you behind the bleachers. They walk you to the opposite side of City National Arena, which is where the Vegas Golden Knights practice. Out on the ice, obviously the ice was covered, and they had game-used sticks, brand-new sticks, game-used gloves, goalie pads, skates, helmets, some shin pads and elbow pads, not many. No, they didn't have any cups for sale, you pervs. They had those nameplates that are like on top of the lockers, but when I got there, there was no name. It was all like minor league guys. It was no big names. But yeah, So the wife and I went, we checked it out, and, we walked around, and she was kind of looking at some T-shirts and stuff, but I was like, babe, you can get those anytime. And she was like, yeah, I can get these anytime. And I happened to grab a Braden McNabb stick. It was a game-used stick. It was $100. It was one of the most reasonably priced things there. And for me, I'm a huge Nabber guy. Nabber came from the Los Angeles Kings. Prior to the Golden Knights' existence, I was a Los Angeles Kings fan, and I really liked McNabb. And there's 2 reasons why I like McNabb. I love the way he plays out on the ice. He's not flashy. He's not fancy. He's a solid stay-at-home defenseman. He's great on the penalty kill, and he's very smart. And I also like McNabb because he doesn't talk a lot. You don't ever really hear much from Nabber. He's quiet. When he gives his interviews, he's very blunt and to the point. He's like, look, I'm just going to tell you what you want to hear and let me go live my life. I love that about McNabb. I love the way he plays. And I'm a huge Nabber fan. I've got a Braden McNabb jersey. It was the very first jersey I ever bought as a Vegas Golden Knights fan. My first VGK jersey is Nabber, number 3. And then I had some William Carrier gloves. Now, the gloves were $200, so I was looking at $300 altogether. And because I like Carrier. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I got a Nabber stick. Nabber's my first Vegas Golden Knight player that I like. First jersey, I'm going to get some Nabber gloves. So I put the Carrier gloves back, and I purchased the Braden McNabb stick and glove combo for $300. And I thought it was a good deal. The money goes to charity. I was like, okay, that's cool. I was excited. But then you get on social media, and some of my fellow season ticket holders, they went there, and I seen them just grabbing as much as they could and filling these trash bags and paying, $200 here and $200 there with the intention of, you guessed it, hey, game-worn gloves for sale for $500. And I'm going, you fucking assholes, man. Like, it was a privilege that they let season ticket holders attend this. So I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Now I can make a display case with that. I mean, and that's cool. But all them greedy bastards, the same Ed type of people that buy season tickets and just sell all the games to make a profit, same thing. So I apologize if you saw any posts like that. The Bug-Eyed guy was excited to go. I checked it out. A lot of the stuff was crazy-ass expensive. There's no way I was going to spend that kind of money on that. But for $300 for a game-used pair stick and gloves, I thought that was a good deal, especially from one of my favorite players on the team. So you know what? I was happy I went. All right, moving on down my show notes. Vegas earthquake. I mentioned it right at the beginning. Yeah, the Vegas Valley encountered an earthquake a couple weeks back, and I was sitting out in the backyard with the wife, and all of a sudden she goes, "I think we're having an earthquake," and I'm like, "Oh, we're having an earthquake." And it was one of those rolly ones. Now, the wife was kind of like, oh, that was kind of cool because I don't know how many earthquakes she's lived through, but growing up in Southern California, especially the 94 quake, the Northridge quake, the one that dropped freeways, yeah, that was like 12 miles from where I was living, the epicenter was. It dropped the freeway that I took every day to get to school. Yes, I know earthquakes. I don't really care for them too much at nighttime. If they're during the day, okay, fine. But I don't care for them when they happen at like 2 in the morning when you're sleeping and you're woke up to everything shaking and glass rattling. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. This situation, I think it was like 8 o'clock at night on a Friday night. And it was one of those rolly ones. Some of them were violent and shaky. This one was more like a deep roller, and it was very weird. It was very strange. It's been a while since I experienced one of those. But yeah, Vegas, earthquake. I also talked at the beginning, grasshoppers. Apparently something with the weather and the moisture and monsoon season and all the stars aligned, and these grasshoppers invaded Vegas last week. Go on YouTube. It was on CNN. It was on all the major news things. Go on YouTube, Grasshoppers Las Vegas. Literally, like, on the Strip, as the casino doors open, there's like thousands of these grasshoppers out there. As I was going to work, opening the front door, I'm like moving my hands like I'm freaking out all over the place, just flying, flopping all in the air, just trying to knock the grasshoppers out of the way so I can get in the building. It was crazy. And then we had one land in our pool in the backyard, and the wife's like, oh, you got to save the grasshopper. So I, hurry up and get the stupid net and try and get it out. And then it takes off, and it looks like a drone. It goes like, I don't know, hundreds of feet up in the air and just kind of cruises on, joins up with the rest of his billion family members that are out here invading our city. But, yeah, I put it on the show notes because I figured not a lot of hockey to talk about. Let's talk about some grasshoppers in Las Vegas. Dolphin video. Okay, this one's going to be really hard to explain in the podcast format that we're doing right now. But go to VGK Bug-Eyed Guy on Facebook. Go to my thing. I shared a video I think it happened late last year in 2018. It's a dude on a paddleboard, and he's paddling out, and there's a wave coming. He's about to paddle over this wave, but you see a pod of dolphins heading right for him. And he's not moving. He's just still paddling out. And this one dolphin must eye this paddleboarder from under the water. And right as the wave's about to hit the paddleboard, this dolphin launches out of the water and straight up throws the meanest, vicious body check to this fucking paddleboard guy, and then goes back in the water and swims away. They even show it in slow motion. It's the most incredible thing because I was like, dude, that's Ryan Reeves in a dolphin costume, and that's Tom Wilson on the paddleboard. Yeah, it was awesome. This dolphin's like, oh, hell no. He's just going to go up there. He is going to body slam the shit out of this paddleboarder and just carry on his day. And that's exactly what happened. So you got to check out that video. I posted, I shared it on social media, and it's an awesome freaking video because that dolphin, honestly, it's straight up gangster. That's all I got to say about that. All right. Preseason bobbleheads. They did release that they're going to do a bobblehead for every preseason game. The Vegas Golden Knights have 4 preseason games this year. They're in September. I want to say it's Arizona, Colorado, San Jose, and the Kings. Yep, those are the 4 games. So I think they're doing 4 different ones. I don't know the exact names right now in front of me, but hey, if you're going to be in Vegas, or if you're a season ticket holder, if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan and you're buying tickets on flash sheets or AXS, whatever they're going to have us use this year, I'm not exactly sure yet, but they're giving away free bobbleheads. And for you Vegas Golden Knights fans that like to get free stuff and sell it to make some money, bobbleheads go for about $50 on eBay. So give or take, if you go to the game and you pay, say, I don't know, $50 for a preseason ticket, which I know that's low for the Vegas Golden Knights, but let's just say hypothetically you pay $50 for a ticket and you get a $50 bobblehead. Well, you get to go to the game for free. That's the way you got to look at it. All right. Football season. Yeah, I talked about it briefly, and actually tonight technically is the very first game of the preseason. It's the Hall of Fame game. Denver Broncos taking on the Atlanta Falcons. I'll probably have it on in the background just because it's sports and it's football, but I'm glad football's back. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I know some of you guys right off the bat are going, you must be a...
You are one pathetic loser.
And no, I'm not a pathetic loser. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I love the frickin' Dallas Cowboys, but I understand. The Cowboys are like the Bears, the Steelers, the Packers, the Patriots. They've got these diehard fan bases, and other teams don't like them. Hell, I don't like the Washington Redskins, and you can YouTube it or Google it, but day 1 or day 2 of Washington Redskins training camp, there's a construction site right across from the field where they're practicing. And the construction workers hung up a Dallas Cowboys flag there, and it was there for the whole morning practice. And it was money because it was a big F you to Washington because my Dallas Cowboys are money. But Dallas Cowboys are in the news. They're always in the news because they're America's team, right? Well, Ezekiel Elliott, star running back for the Dallas Cowboys, is holding out. Here's my deal. He got 2 years left on his contract. 2 years left. It's not like he's going into a contract year and wants to get paid. He's got 2 years left. Dude, you signed that initial contract. You got to man up to the fact that you signed that contract. The team doesn't have to cut you a new one. They've got other people they need to pay that are more important than you. And I'm not saying more important, but priority. They got to sign the quarterback and the receiver before the running back. The running back still got 2 years on his contract. Either way, football's going to be back. And if you don't like football, well, that's fine. You don't have to be. And I don't tend to talk too much football on this podcast. This podcast is geared towards our beloved Vegas Golden Knights. But it's the offseason. There's no Vegas Golden Knights to talk about. And I just watched Game 7, an hour and 56 minutes ago. And no, football's back. What else do I got on my show notes here? Shout out to Team Merica, the World Cup. Yep, we already talked about that. Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, and the rest of you. Julie Ertz. Julie Ertz is married to Zach Ertz, who's the tight end for the stupid Philadelphia Eagles. But shout out to Julie Ertz and the whole rest of the Team Merica. You guys went over there and you kind of walked the walk. They talked the talk. Very first game against Thailand. I mean, it was, 13-0. They just embarrassed them and They might have been showboating a little bit. They might have been having a good old time, but is that illegal? No. Is that bad sportsmanship? I mean, I guess maybe it could be, but I wouldn't necessarily call it bad sportsmanship. They were just having a good time. And they played some tough teams, and there were some close games and some tough games. But you know what? The U.S. women's national team went over there. They took all the criticism. They were getting a little bit of political pressure from back home, believe it or not, during the World Cup. They put the country on their shoulders, and they went in there, and they won. Back-to-back champions, so congratulations to Team America. Now what you guys need to do is figure out how to get that equal pay. Ooh, was that a touchy subject for some of you guys listening to this? All I'm saying is the men's national soccer team for America is not exactly that good. When do you ever hear about the men's team? You don't ever hear about the men's team. Hell, you don't ever hear much about men's soccer in the United States, period, because there's other sports. I mean, soccer here, football in other countries, football is number one sport. Football is football. Here it's soccer. Here it's for kids that can't catch. Oh, I might have pissed some people off with that comment. Look, all I'm saying is congratulations to the women's team. I think you should get paid at least the same as the men's team, especially since women's soccer has such a huge following and a huge crowd and brings in sponsorship money like you wouldn't frickin' believe. All right, what else do I got on here? It says recording from my truck. So that was actually the plan. I was going to actually record this podcast from my vehicle because I'm selling my house and I had a showing and it was at an inopportune time. And I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to sell my house, so I don't want to say no, and I'll just record my podcast from the truck because I have dogs and I don't want the dogs to be at the house when the showing is, so I got to take the dogs to my buddy's house, but I don't want to do the podcast in his house, so I'll just leave the dogs in his backyard and then I'll go in my truck and record the podcast. That was the plan. I got like 2 minutes into the podcast and I was like, I don't feel like doing a podcast right now. And then yesterday I posted on Facebook, I was like, getting ready to do the podcast, hopefully everything works out. And then I get upstairs to where I'm at right now, which is in my bedroom. This is where I did like my first 20 podcast episodes. I did them from right here. And then I moved to my loft and built like a makeshift kind of studio area with stuff so I could do some video stuff. But this is like way more comfortable. And in the summertime when it's hot outside and I don't really have to have a bunch of equipment in front of me because I don't have any external audio really, I can do it here. And I like it. And it feels good in here. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. Hell, I'm 49 minutes into it now. I got to edit out a little bit of my mumbo jumbo from earlier, but this has been nice. It's been peaceful. I've got my information right in front of me. My show notes, man, I wish my show notes were in a little bit better order, but hey, you know what? Without the show notes, without Cat Friendly, without the good old internet, this podcast would suck. And I know some of you guys like, bug guy, I don't want to be offensive or nothing, but your podcast sucks. And if you're really going to like say that to me, then all I have to say to you is, wait a minute. All I got to say to you is, yeah, no, that was kind of stupid, huh? I got this little thing connected over here because I have my my bumpers, my Knights Nation bumpers. I also added some like sounds to the soundboard, and I'm just kind of messing around with them over here, and I apologize. This kind of has me rambling again, but we're almost done with the podcast. But it's got some like toilet sounds. I don't know. I figured maybe I would use some of them in the podcast, but some of them are like really cheesy. Man, that toilet, look at that. That toilet's just going forever. Like, nobody wants to hear that. That's ridiculous. That's like unacceptable. What else is on here? Here's a hockey organ. What's hockey organ? Let's go, Golden Knights. I don't know. That one's lame. Honestly, I don't know. I'm going to have to mess with this a little bit. I'm going to have to pick like 3 or 4 that I really like that I want to use all the time. Maybe this one for Reeves. Or this one when someone gets paid. I don't know. They're kind of dumb. Yeah, whatever. All right, moving on to my show notes. Next one. Being an adult, working to provide for a family, setting a good example for youth. So I'm trying to think why I put this in my show notes. Okay, I know why I put this in my show notes, and here's kind of where I want to go with this. I'm not going to do a rant this week other than, well, this is my rant. Here, let me find the bumper sound real quick. Let's do it. Why not? Let's do...
What the puck? Seriously, what the puck?
All right, Vegas Golden Knights fans, this week's What the Puck is going to be two things. One, setting a good example for youth. If you are going to be an adult, unfortunately, most adults have to have like jobs and provide for their families and be good role models for their kids and take them to practice and make sure their kids bathe. Hell, make sure the adults bathe. Make sure there's food to eat every night. Make sure they have a clean place to live. Make sure they have a vehicle to get to work or get to school and back. I mean, it's called being an adult. And it seems like sometimes people just feel like they can, I don't know, I don't want to say mooch, but everybody encounters issues in life. Everybody encounters, hopefully everyone encounters love. Most people encounter loss of some sort with a loved one moving on. And everybody reacts differently to those situations. But my point is, you still have to be an adult, especially if you have kids. Just because something tragic happens or something upsetting happens or something great happens, you still have to be an adult. You still have to go to work, even if work sucks. Until you have another job, you got to have a job. You have to be an adult. Now, that being said, some adults choose to coach youth sports. Kudos to all the parents out there that want to dedicate the time out of their busy lives to focus on coaching youth sports. And I'm good with that. But make sure you set a good example. Now, my kids play two sports. They play volleyball and they play lacrosse. Now, they just started playing volleyball again. It was kind of a summer thing, but here's where I'm going with this. At a particular game this year, one of the girls on our team went back to get the ball, and she whacked her head against the wall. Now, this is a concrete cinder block building they play in. I heard the thump from the other side of the court sitting in the bleachers. She was jacked up. I'm thinking, dude, they need to take her out of here or at least leave her out of the game. I mean, I had no idea that they were going to put her back in the game, especially when there's subs available on the side. They put this girl back in the game. I'm like, what kind of example are you setting? I heard the thump from all the way over here, and 10 minutes later you're going to put her back in the game? Have you not watched the news in the last couple of years? Do you not understand what concussions are? Do you not understand concussion protocol? Maybe these youth teams should give a quick PowerPoint or something to these coaches to say, hey, concussions, they're injuries, be cautious with these kids. Part of the problem is one of the assistant coaches, it was that kid, so they wanted to make the decision and put the kid back in. To me, if I was coaching that team, that would absolutely not happen. Another thing that wouldn't happen is teamwork. Teamwork is very important. If you're on the team and you're committed to the team, you're on the team. If you want to isolate people or pick on people or bully people, that's okay if that's how you want to be. But I don't expect a parent that's coaching youth sports to be that way. You need to be the bigger person. You need to be the bigger man or woman and set a good example for the youth. If you're talking shit, then the kids are going to talk shit, and then you're going to get mad at them when they get in trouble for talking shit. That don't make no sense. Another thing is if you want to go down that road and then someone else stands up to that person and says, you done that to me the wrong time for the last time, and I'm going to teach you who's boss. Well, then you can't get pissed off that your person got taught a lesson. I mean, again, it's bad adulting, bad setting of good examples for youth. So that pisses me off. So the first portion of the rant is simple. As an adult, set a good example. Kids are going to screw up. When I was a kid, I screwed up. When you were a kid, I guarantee you screwed up at something. And adults are not always perfect. I'm a firm believer in owning up. Especially at work, my wife and I both have jobs that require some skill and a lot of like planning and work ethic and managing time, and we both do a very good job at it. I've screwed up before. She screwed up before. We're the type of adults that own up to our mistakes. We don't always blame somebody. It's always somebody else's problem. Hockey's a lot like that. You see the good players, when they make a mistake, they own up to it in the post-game interview. As adults, as human beings, it's okay to make mistakes. We're not all freaking perfect. Own up to your mistakes and learn from your mistakes. Pushing that message right there onto America's youth or Sweden's youth or wherever you're listening around the world, putting that message onto your youth is important. It's important for the future of this world. It's important for the future of hockey. It's important for everything. And it made the rant this week because of some personal issues with some people in my personal life not acting like adults. Time to grow up. It's time to, I know it sucks. I know it's a hard lesson. I get it. It sucks. But you got to be an adult. All right, second half of What the Puck. Road rage. Now, I feel like I'm an excellent driver. Now, my wife and kids might disagree with that statement, but me as the bug-eye guy, I feel like I am an excellent driver. I don't drive that much with the family anymore. I let the wife do most of the driving nowadays, which is perfectly fine. When I was younger, I used to want to drive all the time, and now I'm like, nope, you can drive. Your car's more comfortable than the truck anyways. That being said, it's been stated or rumored or whatever words you want to use that the bug-eye guy might. Now, it's not proven, but it's rumored to be true that said bug-eye guy suffers from road rage. Now, again, there's no video or audio to confirm this, but sorry, I was a little parched. Had to get a drink real quick. Getting back to road rage, my daughter's alleged that I suffer from it pretty severely. I don't have Tourette's, but apparently Tourette's kicks in when I'm behind the wheel. And I may get a little angry a time or two. Now, again, these are all alleged allegations. I'm innocent until proven guilty. But yeah, road rage is a thing. I don't like three things. Really, I'm gonna limit this to three situations. One, don't be on your goddamn cell phone texting or something, not paying attention. Not paying attention to the light, not paying attention to the car in front of you. Situational awareness. When your head's buried in your phone, you can't be situationally aware. I get on my wife all the time when she touches her phone. I say, not in the car. I go, you can talk. Talking's no big deal because there's a thing called Bluetooth or wireless speakers if you don't have Bluetooth nowadays. But don't be on your phone. Another thing, you're not the only car out there. These last second, I got to jump 3 lanes to get off of the freeway because I wasn't paying the fuck attention. No, that's garbage. That's how you cause accidents. That's how people get hurt. Don't do it. It's dumb shit. And what kind of goes in that category, but it's not its own category, is being an asshole, driving in the fast lane, going like 50 miles an hour. If your slow ass is not going to go the speed limit, then keep your ass, 1, off the fucking roads, or 2, keep your ass in the slow lane. Do not be driving in the fast lane, not going fast. That's why they call it a fast lane. And the third and final thing that really pisses me off with driving, and my brother really, really gets upset with this. And I get it, but it's not their fault. Truck drivers. Truck drivers, man, and I get it. They're America. The reason the truck drivers are out there, they are hauling America's goods around this nation. My buddy Josh, who listens to this podcast religiously, shout out to JT. He's a beer dude. And he drives a truck every day. And he knows some people drive like assholes around trucks. I try to be cool with them, but every once in a while you come across that one truck that wants to pass another truck. Now, I'm okay with, having to get over real quick. But if you're going to build a wall between your two trucks and block everybody behind you, you're an asshole and you're going to cause some road rage. It's going to happen. People that want to cut me off and then slow down, that could be another category too, I guess. But either way, all this mention of road rage, alleged mention of road rage that I may or may not suffer from, I know a lot of people listening to this podcast are probably listening to this in the car. As you're listening to this right now, I'm speaking to you. said fan of the Knights Nation podcast, said fan of the VGK Bug-Eye Guy. You're currently driving right now on the freeway or a highway or a road, and I'm pretty sure you're clenching onto the steering wheel just a little bit tighter because some asshole in front of you or something did something stupid and caused your road rage to kick in. Hopefully you're not going to be famous on YouTube by like getting into a straight-up fisticuffs guy on the side of the freeway or something like that, but if that's what you like to do, then by all means, go for it. Road rage is a thing. I'm curious if it's a thing in other countries or if that's just like an America thing. Now, I've lived in Japan for a few years while I was in the military when I was younger. The problem with Japan is their 2-lane roads are the size of 1 lane in America, so people have to like pull off, and it's kind of strange, and I'm sure you could probably get some road rage from that, but you can't really blame the other driver because their roads are designed stupid. So I don't know. I never really encountered any road rage while I was in Japan. Didn't drive much when I was in Australia or Korea, so I don't know about that. All I know is I think it's an American thing. I think the Canadians got it down. Well, first of all, there's not that many people in Canada, and if you're listening from Canada, I'm just picking on you. It's not your fault. You got like 12 cities in your whole country. It's not your fault. And a shout out to the Western Canada, the Vancouver, the Edmontons, Calgarys. Shout out to you guys because I'm going on a road trip. The wife and I, we're going to hit Western Canada. We're going to go watch our Vegas Golden Knights take on those 3 teams. Not sure exactly when, but we're going to freaking do it. I got some friends I met on a cruise from Edmonton, so we're going to meet up with them. It's going to be super cool. I don't think Canada has road rage. I want to think they don't have road rage. I can imagine North Korea probably has road rage. China, with all the people there, China definitely probably has road rage. I don't know. Allegedly, I have road rage, and I'm not going to admit to anything. Not on this podcast, at least. All right. What else do we got? We got one other thing we should talk about. Let's go over here to... let's go to signings. Oh, real quick. Earlier today, Kevin Shattenkirk was bought out by the New York Rangers. He's got a $6.65 million cap hit, yeah. Marlowe's still an unrestricted free agent. Dion Phaneuf's an unrestricted free agent. Jason Palmaville, Derek Brassard. Joe Thornton still technically is an unrestricted free agent. Mark Mathot, you remember that defensive guy that we picked up at the expansion draft, and then we shipped him off to Dallas? He's an unrestricted free agent. He's available at $4.9 million. Yeah, not interested. RFAs, let's see, Jimmy Scholl, Zach Werenski, Kyle Connor, Patrick Laine, Matthew Tkachuk. There's a whole bunch of them. Nothing's really going to happen with the restricted free agents until Mitch Marner signs. It's all over the internet. As soon as Marner signs, that's going to kind of set the pace. It's kind of like the NFL. You get one guy to sign, and then everyone wants to make a little bit more than that guy. That's what's going on with the RFAs. But what I wanted to look at was trades. Here they are. Okay, I want to quickly go over the July 1st kind of stuff, and I'm going to be fast. So I apologize if this is kind of boring to you, but honestly, there was a whole bunch of names that moved this year that were kind of important. That might catch you guys off guard if you're not listening to anything hockey related until next season. If that's the case, then I want to bring you up to speed. Andrew Shaw, that little 5'0" agitator, used to play for the Blackhawks, then got traded to the Montreal Canadiens. Guess what? Canadiens traded his ass back to the Blackhawks. Andrew Shaw, his $3.9 million contract, is going back to Chicago. Other big names, let's see here. The Maple Leafs got Cody Ceci, Ben Harper, and Aaron Luchk in exchange for Connor Brown, Nikita Zaitsev, and Michael Carson. That's a weird one because that's an Ottawa Maple Leafs deal. That's like right across the bay. Jimmy Vesey went to the Buffalo Sabres from the New York Rangers in exchange for a third-round pick. Toronto Maple Leafs got Tyson Barrie and Alexander Kerfoot from the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Nazem Kadri, Callie Rosen, and a third-round pick. Nazem Kadri is a hell of a player at $4.5 million a deal. That's going to be good. And honestly, I think Colorado's going to be a really good team. Let's see, what else do we got up here? Artem Anisimov went to Ottawa. in exchange for Zach Smith. That was another deal with Ottawa and Chicago. Oh, here's a name that's kind of important to Vegas Golden Knights fans. Did you guys know that the real deal James Neal, got traded from the Calgary Flames to the Edmonton Oilers? He got traded in exchange for Milan Lucic. Now, Milan Lucic is kind of like a Ryan Reeves, but a little bit older and probably a little bit better offensively. Not as good of a fighter, of course. Milan Lucic played for the Boston Bruins, won the Cup, got traded to L.A., and then signed a deal with Edmonton at $5.25 million a year, which is a lot of money for Lucic. Real deal James Neal, $5.75 million. That's why he didn't come back to Vegas, because Vegas wasn't going to offer him that kind of money. And he's got $5.75 million for the next almost 4 years. What did Neal do last year? What was his actual stats? Let's look real quick. He played 63 games for the Flames. 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points. 4 games in the playoffs. Goose egg, nothing. Real deal James Neal went from a star in Las Vegas. Him and Flower had the most jerseys sold. He was super popular. And then he takes the money, which you can't blame him for taking the money, even though he went to Canada and the taxes and the less. But he wanted to go to Calgary. He chose Calgary. Calgary had a phenomenal year. It had nothing to do with James Neal being on the team. And at the end of the day, Calgary shipped a bad James Neal contract to Edmonton in exchange for a bad Milan Lucic contract back in return. So honestly, it's a wash. But the real deal James Neal now going to be playing with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and the rest of them knuckleheads up there in Edmonton. So maybe it'll revive his career, or maybe they'll just have to eat that $5.75 million contract. We talked earlier about Clarkson for Sparks, Gusev for draft picks, and then let's see here. There's some other ones. James Reimer for Scott Darling. That's kind of a funny one. That's 2 backups. Phil Kessel got traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins for Alex Galchenyuk and Pierre-Olivier Joseph. I don't know how that's going to work out. Phil Kessel's a good player. He played for the Maple Leafs, and in the last couple of years he's been on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and now he's heading out to the West for the Arizona Coyotes. Arizona got a new owner. They're going to spend some money. They've got a decent young team, and maybe Kessel will work out for him. Colin Miller, $3.875 million contract was shipped to Buffalo. We talked about it on the last podcast, but it was for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. So Colin Miller garnered a 2nd round and a 5th round, and Nikita Gusev garnered a 2nd round and a 3rd round. So real quickly, let's talk draft picks real fast. So the Vegas Golden Knights, what do we got? Let me look. Hold on, it's right here. All right, next year's draft, 2020 draft. 1 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, no 4th. We got a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. Here's what I wanted to talk about in the podcast. The 2nd-round pick that we get in next year's draft is from the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is the last of the money picks. Yes, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'm going to say this right now for you guys that don't know this. Everybody should know this by now, but for you that don't know this, next year in the draft, the NHL draft, the Vegas Golden Knights will be selecting in the 2nd round the pick that they got from the Penguins in exchange for the Vegas Golden Knights selecting Marc-Andre Fleury in the expansion draft. You believe that? This is the last of these freebie picks. Pittsburgh gave us a 2nd-round pick to draft Marc-Andre Fleury in the expansion draft. That is incredible. That is how I should end the podcast. Vegas Golden Knights fans, thanks so much for tuning in to episode 42 of Knights Nation podcast. I apologize if I jumped around a little bit. I apologize if there was not that much hockey to talk about. And I apologize that it's been a while since I've done a podcast. This is like end of the season podcast, no podcast for a month. You got 1 episode, then you got another month, and now you're getting this episode. I kind of warned you guys. I did a podcast every single week during the regular season except for 1 week. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort. Some of the podcasts kind of sucked. The quality got better. I tried to do better, and now I'm set up in a good spot. I've enjoyed the summer. It's super hot outside. I've just, kind of cleared my mind a little bit, got focused on hockey, got focused on some other personal things, and I'm ready. I'm telling you guys now. I have no idea when my next podcast will be. Reach out to me on social media. Say, Bug-Eye Guy, you should talk about this. Bug-Eye Guy, you should talk about that. I want to get other people on the podcast. That's going to happen. This season, I said it last season, but honestly, I was too busy with other stuff. It's going to happen this season. I'm going to be recording my podcast on Sundays, except when the Vegas Golden Knights have a game on Sunday. I'm going to get interviews. I'm going to get guests. And I am not a pundit. As much as people might want to refer to me as a pundit, I'm not a pundit. I'm a fan. I say it in my intro. I say it in my outro. My name's Nick. I'm the VGK Bug-Eye Guy. Season ticket holder, section 217. I love the Vegas Golden Knights. I love the sport. I love NHL. I love hockey in general. This podcast is a podcast by a fan for you fans. This is for you. I take time out of my life every week to put this together to share my love, passion, knowledge of the sport of hockey. I don't make no money at this stuff. In fact, it costs me money to do this on a weekly basis, but I don't care. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy interacting with you guys. I hope you guys enjoy these podcasts. Hell, if you're listening to this right now at this portion of the podcast, you are dedicated, because that means you made it through over an hour of me rambling a bunch of random shit. Literally, you made it through, and I appreciate it. Thank you. What I would ask for in return, give me a good review. I don't care where you listen to this podcast. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or Podbean or any one of those other major podcast players, Google Play or Google whatever, Google Music, I don't forget what it is. I'm on Google too. Just give me a good review. Say, hey, I enjoy this guy. He likes talking Vegas Golden Knights. That goes more than monetary, at least at this point in my career, at this point in this podcast. The recognition is more important to me. So if you enjoy it, great. If you don't enjoy it and you think I suck, okay, fine. Give me a review and say I suck. I got thick skin. I could take it. I'd prefer the negativity to stay on social media, though, instead of like Apple Podcasts. But if you choose to give me a shit review and say I suck on Apple Podcasts, have at it. If that's what you want to do, if that makes you feel better, if that allows you to sleep good at night, then go ahead and go on Apple Podcasts and review the Knights Nation podcast. Say, this guy Nick sucks. He's not funny. He don't know shit about hockey. I'm going to give him a bad review. And you know what I'm going to do with that review? I'm going to say thank you. Have a nice day. All right, I've taken up way too much of your time. Next podcast will be sometime between now and the beginning of the season, and that's all I'm going to commit to at this point. Hopefully some other news breaks, but I don't know what other news can break. Rosters are pretty much set. The Vegas Golden Knights will end up signing Jimmy Schultz. I have no doubt in my mind that contract will get worked out. And, yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in to episode 42 of Knights Nation Podcast. I really do appreciate it. Be on the lookout for future podcasts. I'm going to give away a couple of tickets to games this coming up year, all through the podcast. I'm also going to give away some Knights Nation hats and beanies and stickers, but you're going to have to get all that information in this podcast. Thanks, guys. I really do appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. I love you. And as always, duh, Bug-Eye Guy. Go Knights, go.
You've been listening to the Knights Nation Podcast. For a full recap of this podcast or to listen to past episodes, visit knightsnation.vegas. Your host, the VGK Bug-Eye Guy, is available on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at VGK Bug-Eye Guy and at Knights Nation LV.